Hi everyone, it's John Mitchell. In this video, we're going to look at the role of certain participants within the workplace. However, this point in the study design lists some of those participants as the Fair Work Commission, unions, employer associations, and those participants or stakeholders are heavily involved in what we know as workplace relations. So what we're going to do is look at what workplace relations is first, get a brief understanding of that, and then look at the key role of each of those participants. So, workplace relations refers to the relationship and communication shared between the employees and their employer, especially in areas around wages, employment conditions, and workplace disputes. So what employees are paid, how much leave they get, and all those types of things, and any disputes that arise, that's what we're talking about when we're referring to workplace relations. So the goal is to have positive working relationships or positive workplace relations where the employees are satisfied with their wages and the conditions they're receiving, but two, the business is able to provide that for the employees and also remain productive, competitive, and profitable, and also minimize any disputes that arise in the business, but if a dispute does arise, resolve it quickly and fairly. Now, the key participants that are listed in our study design are these: the Fair Work Commission, employer associations, unions, HR managers, and the employees, and we need to go through each one of those in terms of their role and also look at their role with workplace relations. So firstly, the Fair Work Commission. This is Australia's independent workplace relations tribunal. So any workplace relations issues is overseen by the Fair Work Commission, or any disputes that arise can be taken to the Fair Work Commission. So some examples of their role include hearing unfair and unlawful dismissal. We've spoken about unfair dismissal in previous videos. If there's a claim, they can take that to the Fair Work Commission. They will hear it and make a decision on what happens with that particular claim. They hear and investigate bullying and harassment claims. They make changes to the minimum employee wages and employment conditions, known as awards. We'll get into what awards are in a future video, but for now, just understand that the Fair Work Commission can make alterations to the minimum employee wages and employment conditions. They also approve workplace agreements. So when the employees and their employer agree on what the wages and conditions will be, that needs to then be approved by the Fair Work Commission. So they oversee all that. They'll look at it, make sure it meets their set of standards, and then they'll approve it. And again, we'll get into how that happens in a future video. The employer associations are organisations that represent and offer advice to employers with relations to workplace relations issues. Now, if we have a look here on the right-hand side there, a little chart, we've got the Fair Work Commission at the top. They're the federal governing body or the independent tribunal. Underneath that, you've got the Employer Association who represent the employers. Now, they may be involved in things like negotiating new wage agreements and representing the employer for that, or even just offering advice in that negotiation. Any changes in legislation that the government makes to workplace relations issues, the Employer Association will be on top of that and offer advice to their employers that fall under their banner. Also, if there's an employee dispute between the business and employee or a group of employees, the Employer Association can represent the employer or just simply offer advice about how to handle that particular dispute. The union is an organisation that represents and offers advice to employees with workplace relations issues. So they do exactly the same thing as we spoke about for that the Employer Association does, but they do it for the employees. So they represent the employees. They may be involved in things like negotiation new wage agreements, but they would represent the employees or offer advice to the employees. They can support and represent employees if there is a dispute. So rather than an employee having a dispute and just feeling like they're on their own against their employer and all their bosses, they can bring in the union to help represent them or at least offer advice to them on how to approach that. They can organise industrial action. So if there's a new wage agreement being negotiated with employees and the employer and things aren't going that well, the trade union or the union can organise industrial action. For example, they could organise a strike and the employees may go on strike to demonstrate how important they are to the business. Human Resource Manager. On their own, the Human Resource Manager is responsible for managing the relationship between the employees and the business. So they recruit the best employees, they train and develop them, they monitor their employee progress and try and use performance management strategies to do that. They terminate employees and go through the whole termination phase. A lot of that we've already spoken about. But when it's in terms of workplace relations, what they are involved in is representing the employer in negotiation of new wage agreements. So here, although they're an employee, they will represent, the human resource manager will represent the employer in regards to workplace relations issues. So they'll get advice from the Employer Association or the Fair Work Commission directly, and they will represent the employer in workplace relations issues. They may participate in the resolution of disputes. They will implement agreements. So once a new wage agreement has been agreed upon, it's their job to implement that. So if there's any wage increases in a new agreement, they need to make sure that employees' wage increase is implemented on time. They also liaise with the Employer Association, the unions, the Fair Work Commission, and all the other key stakeholders. So that, again, representing the employer. The employees, those that work within the business, and their role overall is just to work towards the achievement of objectives. But in regards to workplace relations, they're involved in things like negotiating new agreements, so new wage agreements. They vote on those new agreements to say, yes, we agree with it, or no, we disagree with it, and go back to the negotiation table because they want higher wages or whatever it may be. And also, they take industrial action where required. So if they aren't happy with the way an negotiation of a new agreement is going, they may decide to go on strike. Now, just to recap, workplace relations refers to the relationship and communication shared between the employees and the employer, but in regards to issues around wages, employment conditions, and workplace disputes. Now, the key participants that we went through were the employees and the HR manager, so they operate on a workplace level. They may negotiate together and those types of things, or have disputes and try and get them resolved, but they're on the workplace level. Above that are the unions and employer associations. They are specialists in workplace relations, and what they do is either represent the employees or the employer, or offer them advice in regards to workplace relations. And then above that, overseeing the whole system, the whole workplace relations system, is the Fair Work Commission. That's the federal independent tribunal where if there are any disputes that need resolving, then they can be taken to the Fair Work Commission and they will sort them out. So for questions, activities, and to find out more about our Unit 4 and exam preparation lectures, then come on over to teachingbubble.com.